Welcome into the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard D. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor for Raider.
Good afternoon.
It is Monday, December 12th, 2022. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos. I'll have a new video up tomorrow morning. Technically, it's up right now. But I want to alter some things. So it's unlisted at the moment. But I will get up in the morning, tweak a thing or two, re-upload it, and then for our subscribers, for our Patreon, patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse, for I think $4, $7, and $10, whoever has access to early access will get it and be able to check it out and stuff like that. It's 3 mini essays. The title of the video is Video Game Executives Are a Bunch of Silly Gooses. I was just trying to think of something light and silly to call it. It's 3 mini essays about 3 different things that video game executives have said or done that bothers me for various reasons that I just need to get off my head. So it's Chris Bruzzo and his loot box interview, which lives in my head rent-free. Strauss Zelnick and his famous, the cowboy thing that we yell about and the Western thing we yell about on the show a lot.
I mean, it was 100% accurate. Nobody
and
wants
then
to play
Yosuke
cowboy
Matsuda
games.
and Square Enix and their flirtation with NFTs and blockchain gaming and stuff like that. So 3 mini essays about each of those topics, digging in, and just getting some thoughts off my chest. Even though I know in the end, Bruzzo and Matsuda and they'll just keep spinning in circles around my
Swirling.
head.
They're just laughing
For the rest of my life.
Dental plan. Lisa needs braces. Dental plan.
We've got a lot of news to get into, and Richard, you're gonna for tidbits. We're gonna recap. We'll do game
all
awards.
game awards all the time.
Yep,
That's all we are now.
So
and also we're gonna try to figure out if Ska is dead or not.
Ska is hitting like almost a fourth wave revival.
See, that's why we have to talk about this.
Connor, have you played any video games?
No. Sorry.
Richard, have you played any video games? Yeah. Okay, you go ahead and go.
So let's see here. I'm just going to recap. I got one new thing, but recap on a couple other things. I have finished what they consider the main quest line in Genshin Impact so far. Oh, and okay. I think it ended off in a really, really awesome culmination of all of these characters that take place in this city performing a heist to kind of free their god who is trapped, and it ended up being really cool with a couple character swaps here and there to kind of go through what they were doing at the time before they succeed in their mission. And I think the writing in this section of the game was not only fantastic, but the pacing of it was very well done as well. It is kind of stressful waiting for each part to come out because it's not finished when the update comes out. It goes by patches, so usually there's like 2 or 3 patches before the story finally completed. So it is over now, but now it's just events until like the next major story part. But that was very, very cool, and I love how the writing has progressed from the early game, which is very basic, to now it's a lot more complex, with twists and turns to keep you invested. So it's very, very cool. But I started up for not a whole lot of time, about 2 hours, but I started playing Need for Speed Unbound, which is the newest Criterion Need for Speed game. And I was very attracted to this one because it reminded me a lot of Need for Speed Underground, which was my favorite Need for Speed game. It was during the height of the like import scene for like racing and stuff like that. So modifications and whatnot. But it has this really nice crossover style with another racing game from a long time ago called Automodelista, which was from Capcom. And it was a racing game that was cell shaded, so all the like cars were very cartoony.
Okay.
So in Need for Speed Unbound, you have open world. It's very much like Need for Speed Underground, where you have customization options. However, a lot of the style is urban graffiti art and animation as well. So the main characters or any of the characters in the game are all cell shaded. They're very anime-esque looking. But when you do things like drift around the corner, like you will have smoke come out of your tires, but the smoke is animated and you can customize that smoke and how it looks. So your car is realistic, but the effects on it will be animated.
Oh, okay.
So it's very neat.
Really cool.
Yeah. And
so
those
things mesh pretty well together.
They mesh very well.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so. It has a lot of style to it. So like after you're done performing a drift, if you hit your nitro, usually the outside of your wheels, you'll see like a ring go around it as if it like signifies them turning, and then like you'll get like a crown above your head. Like it's kind of like I'm king or whatever. And then like if you like make jumps, like wings will come out of your car.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
It's just it's very, very, it has so much style to it, and it's very cool visually, and it kind of like hits all those right. It hits as many buttons for me as Forza does. Forza Horizon specifically. So it has that pseudo-realistic racing feel with the arcadiness that I long for in racing games to keep it fresh and keep it going.
Sure, yeah.
Like anything with Need for Speed, if they want to include a story, like the story is very cliche.
Yeah.
So it's you get to choose your car, one of 3 cars. There's a Silvia, there's like a beat up Silvia, a Lamborghini, and like another beat up like old car, and your characters fix it up, and so now it's like your first race, and your partner seems a little too eager to do certain things, get into trouble basically. And so it seems like that's going to be a point of contention later on. So it's just, and of course the script is very, very modern as well. Hello fellow kids, stuff like that. So but it's serviceable. It's what you probably would come to expect from Need for Speed. So they also have the police system in Need for Speed as well. So if you're going too fast or you're doing illegal things, you'll start to get chased by the police. But they gauge that by how many races you win and the notoriety that you gain from winning these races.
Okay.
So as of now, like I only did 2 races, and after my second race, after your scoring screen, they came up with another screen that showed like your police interaction, and it kind of told me like, okay, the police are going to see you, but they're not going to do anything to you because you're not doing anything yet. But if you start to gain notoriety, like if they see you on the street, they'll just immediately actively start chasing you. And then of course you can build up that meter to have more and more police chase you. I'm not sure what that entails if they do capture you or whatever, because I haven't got to that point yet, but it seems like a neat system. There's also a lot of fun things, crashing through billboards. You can crash other racers into police or obstacles so that you can gain the upper hand. But other than that, the most attractive things for it is the animation style and the arcadey type of racing. And I would like to get more and more into it. But of course, I have to get through a lot of other things, including God of War, which I'm also playing. I don't know how much further I am in to it story-wise, but I know that my save file says like 25 hours, and it doesn't feel like 25 hours. It feels a lot less than that.
Do we need to put another God of War spoiler tag?
I don't think so.
3rd week in a row? Go for 3? Come on.
No, I mean, we could, but I mean, I don't, once we like hit a month of talking about a game, like every week, I'm like, you get it. We're playing God of War.
Yeah, sure.
It's, so.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I have a question about the Genshin heist.
Yeah.
When you started, did it have a lot of like abstract free jazz with overuse of congas and
I wish
and double bass? Ah,
I wish. No, but since it takes place in the soundtrack for that area is banging, because it's India, Middle Eastern.
Okay.
So it's just, the music is like out of this world. Like if it's one thing about Genshin, like the music is phenomenal every single time. Sumeru is like the best yet. The music is so good for it. I mean, after the podcast, if you want to listen to a track, I'll show you, man, because it's good shit. Anyways.
So yeah, I really have only been playing God of War, and God of War continues to just get better and better. The writing is exquisite. The performances are just mind-bogglingly good. It's just, and in this one, we talked about a few weeks ago how, I won't spoil anything, but you get to learn characters better. Characters get more time one-on-one time with Kratos, one-on-one time with Sindri, and instead of them being characters that maybe appear in a cutscene or they say something funny when you're at the Forge, or maybe they tell you a little bit about their life when they're at the Forge, now they're with you on quests, side quests here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me a lot of Red Dead, where they're just, there are moments where you really get to know who they are, what they think, sort of the deeper aspects of their personhood. I guess you couldn't say humanity because they're not humans, but of their personhood. And it's really fulfilling, and it's just, it's really good. And the themes, I think it's really fun tying it all together, because I really think there's consistently like dualities in the game. So at one point, Atreus is talking to Thor, and Thor's relationship with Odin is obviously strained.
Yes.
Right?
Very
very strained.
antagonistic.
Yeah, they don't like each other. It's clear. And at one point, Atreus is talking to Thor, and Thor says, kid, why don't you stop? Because you don't know anything about me. And Atreus says, oh yeah, you're the son of a god, and you're trying to live up to the god's expectations. I know nothing of that. And it's like, holy shit, Atreus and Thor have a lot in common. What do you know? And it's just little things like that continue to be unpacked as you get further and further. Odin is just Odin might be... Odin doesn't get a ton of screen time, but the screen time Odin gets is... all of it is like perfection.
You pay attention, man.
You pay attention. He commands the screen.
Yeah, as soon as he shows up, it's like...
When he is talking, and I don't know the actor's name.
Richard Schiff, I think.
The way he delivers his lines is just so sincere, but he's Odin. So they do such a magnificent job, because the idea of Odin is that he manipulates you. He breaks down your barriers. And the whole time he's lying, but he's just so personable. He's so likable. You want to believe in him almost. You want to believe that there's good there. You want to believe that he's striving for something greater than just domination and control, and he's above just full on greed. All that is just portrayed so well in how the actor voices his lines and stuff. And it's such a great contrast with Kratos, because Kratos is very much he's the opposite. Kratos is standoffish. He's not charismatic at all.
He grumbles.
He grumbles. But at the same time, they're also extremely similar, because they both have pasts where they did very bad things. And now you see them in moments where you're like, hey, they're not that bad. And you ask yourself, can people get better? Do mistakes in their past define them? Can they change? Can you get better? And that goes across with so many of the characters. So it's just, I don't know, man. I haven't been this enthralled by a game's characters since Red Dead 2. And I think before Red Dead Redemption 2, not sure ever. God of War 2018 was phenomenal. It was really good, but I think the writing here is just beefier, right? Real meat and potatoes type stuff. Where God of War 2018 was still really good, but it's just the heights here. It's just like every 20 minutes there's a character scene that is just... You get done with it and you're just like, oh man, that was great. Oh, yeah. That was fantastic. And maybe Witcher's in there a little bit for some of the characters. But anyway, I'm pretty close to the ending. And I did have a major event happen that I was very surprised by, and I thought was an awesome plot twist. I have heard that the ending is underwhelming. Well, specifically Jason Schreier said in his opinion that the ending is underwhelming. And with games, Schreier is somebody that I usually find myself agreeing with for one reason or another. So I guess I'll see once I get there. But it's ramping up very well, and I'm really excited to get there. But yeah, it very good. And of course, the combat continues to be good. The gameplay, the side quests, it really is like just a home run across the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They topped it, and it's gonna be difficult to top this one because I don't know how you.
Well, they're not, because it's the last one.
Well, there's gonna be. I thought there was gonna be a couple.
No,
more.
they specifically said this was the last one.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm very certain they said that. Yeah.
Oh well, interesting. Okay, that's
Unless I read the quote wrong.
It caught me completely off guard. Okay,
Well.
that'll be the. There's something else I was wrong about last week that we'll talk about in the Syndic. Anyway, let's hit the ad.
Let's hit the thing.
Let's get in there. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. The FTC has sued to stop the Microsoft Activision-Blizzard deal. This following a 3-1 vote by the commission. The 3 Democrats went no. The 1 Republican on the commission voted yes, I guess, in favor of the deal or in favor of not suing the deal. I'm not sure. But anyway, reading straight from the complaint, quote, with control over Activision's blockbuster franchises, Microsoft would have both the means and motive to harm competition by manipulating Activision's pricing, degrading Activision's game quality or player experience on rival consoles and gaming services, changing the terms and timing of access to Activision's content, or withholding content from competitors entirely, resulting in harm to consumers. The case will be heard by an administrative law judge of the FTC August 2023, so not until the end of the summer. In a statement to The Verge, Microsoft president and I forgot to put the name there, I think it was Brad Smith, Microsoft president and vice chair Brad Smith said, quote, we continue to believe that this deal will expand competition and create more opportunities for gamers and game developers. We have been committed since day one to addressing competition concerns, end quote. I'm going to make sure that was Brad Smith because I know that's a generic name, but I was correct. Yeah, that's Brad Smith. Okay, cool. All right.
I think they said it's needs to happen before April 2023. Otherwise, they have to renegotiate the deal.
Yeah. We talked about that last week, right?
Right. I think so. So that means that deal is not going to go through by April of 23 next year because they're not going to get to it till August 2023. Yeah. So they're either going to have to renegotiate the deal or it's going to fall through.
Yeah. And I think, okay. I'll restate what I said last week. I think this is how it should be. I don't buy really. I think Microsoft and PlayStation have both kind of looked silly in this.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Microsoft recently.
We've gone back and forth.
Yes.
Each one has had a week where they looked really silly and the other one, yeah, it's gone back and forth. But Microsoft definitely, Phil Spencer has said some silly things. I find it extremely hard to believe. I mean, they keep touting how PlayStation is the console leader, but it's like Microsoft's one of the biggest companies on earth. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I assume Sony is nowhere near as big as Microsoft is.
No.
So it's hard for me to believe that Microsoft or Xbox specifically is going to be in this super duper difficult place if this deal doesn't go through. And another thing, this was the thing that I was completely wrong about. So, okay, in 2021, I had either didn't know this or I completely forgot this, but apparently Microsoft implied, and this was something that you text me, Microsoft implied that Bethesda games, that Elder Scrolls 6 specifically, would be Xbox exclusive. Now, I don't know if that's something that they haven't said it explicitly, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. That was something that Phil Spencer implied. But that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, why you would do that then, and now it's hurting you now because part of the FTC, and again, you text me this, and the complaint is the FTC pointing out Microsoft telling the European Commission, the equivalent of like the European FTC,
when the Bethesda deal went through.
Yeah, when the Bethesda deal went through, hey, we won't make games exclusive,
yeah.
and then they sort of imply that they would. And from a business standpoint, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because we talked about that. We talked about how PlayStation has a bigger install base, so why would you limit the games that go on there? I just don't think that makes sense.
Even if you're getting a smaller cut, you're still getting a cut.
Yeah.
Not only that, I think that Microsoft kind of is overlooking the one card they have over PlayStation when it comes to Bethesda games, specifically Elder Scrolls, is that modifications. You can do that on the Xbox One. You can do that on PC. You can install mods.
Have you ever tried it before?
Yeah, with Fallout 4, I did. Yeah, when I played it on Xbox One, and yeah, I mean it's extremely simple. There's a list of mods. Choose which ones you want, and then okay, cool, and they put them on. No big deal, but. For the people who are interested in that, you can push that a little more and maybe bring back that. Do they still have that? Bethesda, I don't know if you remember Bethesda did that like creation club for like $5 a month or something. I
obviously have no idea if that's still a thing. Yeah.
That's still a thing.
Oh, it is still a thing? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, regardless, yeah, even if you aren't getting the full pie, you're getting a piece of it. When it comes to Sony, if you were to make it multi-platform with Sony. But granted, like Skyrim sold way more copies on the Xbox and Xbox 360 specifically compared to the PS3. I think that the Elder Scrolls series and the Elder Scrolls series started on Xbox, quote unquote, started Morrowind, for consoles, started on Xbox.
The modern Elder Scrolls storylines.
Yes. So I think people kind of already associate Elder Scrolls with Xbox. I think that Microsoft doesn't have anything to lose making Elder Scrolls 6 multi-platform.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before.
Some money.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. Yeah, but
you would think, and if you were looking to allay, I think is allay a verb? Yeah, I think it's a verb. I think it's the word I'm looking for. If it's not, it sounds like allay. If you were looking to allay the concern, that's not the word. If you are looking to allay the concerns of the FTC, I think a good way is to not have done that.
Yes.
But apparently,
I think their exact phrasing was, "Oh yeah, these games will be available on everywhere that has Game Pass. Like Game Pass is available."
Yeah,
on.
sure.
So that was their vague wording of, "It's ours, but it's not exclusive."
Yep.
Yeah. So
I think this is a good thing. I would call Microsoft's bluff and say, "Sorry, I'm sure you'll be fine if you don't have Activision Blizzard."
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's better for the industry when more companies are competing and there's more competition. I think that's just in general. So yeah, I don't see why anybody would be rooting for Microsoft. I like Microsoft's philosophy. How much do they believe in it? That's debatable. I think Phil Spencer actually believes in having games playable anywhere, that kind of philosophy. I think him personally believing that, sure. Does he believe that to the point where he'd stake his role at Microsoft on it? I don't know, because I think there are people at Microsoft that are just as cutthroat as anywhere else, and they don't believe in that philosophy as much. But that's just the way it is at the moment. So, anyway, I think any reasonable person, this is sort of the outcome that you want, and you kind of hope that Activision Blizzard stays on its own. And then if that happens, we'll get it. We're about to get into Diablo 4. There's a whole other conversation
issue
here
to get through. Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to say on this before we get to Diablo 4?
No, I'm good to move on.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this story by Shannon Liao. We've talked about her stories multiple times. I don't know if that's how to pronounce her last name. So I apologize if that's a mispronunciation. Of the Washington Post, Diablo 4 devs working long hours for release. It's very wide-ranging, covers a lot of different stuff. We're not going to get to everything. Spoke with 15 current and former Blizzard employees, saying that in order to meet Diablo 4's June 6, 2023 release, developers will have to crunch significant overtime in a process they say has been plagued by mismanagement. Continue fallout from the California state lawsuit against Activision Blizzard has also led to many experienced developers leaving, and also just developers in general leaving. So there's been lots of turnover. There's been lots of turnover as people coming and going, and that obviously doesn't make things any easier. Reading straight from the story, quote, sources described a mounting sense of dissatisfaction and malaise among employees as they endured leadership changes at Activision Blizzard and on the Diablo IV team. The Diablo team has been losing talent for over a year as employees look for more competitive wages and better work conditions elsewhere. Specifically on crunch, Blizzard has not explicitly required employees to work overtime in most cases, but has offered incentives to employees as they rush to meet deadlines like profit sharing and to cover meals. Activision Blizzard also offers a deal in which employees take twice as many company stock shares when the game releases, I believe, as opposed to normally, because they do. I think this is normal, and this happens at other game companies as well, but this is sort of a doubling up on that deal. Sources say this is something Kotick specifically likes to use to motivate employees. A current Blizzard Albany employee said, quote, it's really just a way for the company to, without mandating crunch, make people want to work much, much longer hours and stress themselves out and burn themselves out to save the company money and get it out quicker. It's tied to your own financial well-being to make the now technically voluntary decision to crunch or hurt your own mental and physical health to finish the game quickly enough for you to get the bonus in. Quote, employees are mixed. Employees say they are mixed on whether or not the game is going to be good. Some say it will fun. Others say they think it's going to get more mediocre review scores. Most agree, and I would assume all agree, crunching to hit a specific date could hurt the game and obviously will hurt the health of employees. So a lot of stuff we've heard before, and yeah.
And it sucks to continue to hear it, especially with all the heat that Activision Blizzard has suffered throughout the last 2 to 3 years. And it just shows that under the leadership that they have right now, it's not going to change. Ever, probably not, unless something very major happens, which would have possibly been the merger, which now is under a spotlight. So this is just, as we always say, it's just really shitty situation to be in that doesn't seem to be improving.
I think what's specifically interesting in this case, because we've gotten a lot of stories over the years about studios crunching for release, stuff like that, and they all suck and they're all horrible. The thing that's specifically interesting about this is Jesse McCree, who is somebody who was left Activision Blizzard. I don't think we ever got a specific reason why this person left Activision Blizzard.
Oh, he was one of the ones responsible for.
Yeah, but I want to say that. I just don't know if it was ever explicitly said what he was responsible for. But anyway, But he was one of the lead developers of Diablo IV. So now you see sort of you can draw a direct line from the stuff that went down on Activision Blizzard, draw a line to this person, draw a line to Diablo IV. Mm-hmm. And there's the consequences of everything that went down, right?
Yeah.
And there was another person who was working on Diablo IV. This person was fired explicitly for, I don't remember their name off the top of my head, but this was another high-ranking developer on Diablo IV. So now we're seeing the fallout of the culture that was Activision Blizzard, and we're seeing its impact on the games that it makes because of the changes in management and leadership. And then when those leaders get out, new people get brought in, and that creates new expectations and new ideas for the game and stuff like that. And all that turnover means that you're going to have to do things differently. Yep. And that may mean deadlines get pushed back, but you can't push the release of the game back, and that leads to crunch. And so yada, yada, yada. Here you are with same result with a different story leading up to it. So it's interesting to specifically sort of see that over the course of the past few years and how now it's all coming down to Diablo IV, which is a really big game for Blizzard.
Right.
Because, I don't know, what was the last, there's probably one that I'm forgetting, but what was the last Blizzard release that wasn't just mired in controversy? Overwatch 2, which everyone says it's good.
Overwatch 1.
Was it Overwatch 1? Because the Warcraft 3 remake.
Yeah, that was after.
Yeah, that was after.
Which that was awful.
And and a lot of people, since
2017.
So since Overwatch, is that the last one then? I wonder.
Yeah, because I was about to say Mr. Pandaria, but nobody liked that. The expansion?
Dragonflight's doing pretty well.
Dragonflight's doing, which just came out, yeah.
World of Warcraft, I wouldn't know. And I don't know about like the World of Warcraft, the one that's the classic version or whatever that released.
Yeah.
I have no idea how much that fared with the community.
That's doing well, but it's also one of those like...
Nostalgia bait.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But anyway.
I mean, it's 100%.
Well, sure, yeah, but there were private servers, and then they took them down. Like, no, we'll charge you for that, and it's like, okay, well, you guys just took advantage of something.
Well, I mean, as long as you just have a subscription to World of Warcraft, you can get all.
You can play it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just have to be subscribed to World of Warcraft.
All right then.
Yeah. So it's
then that point was moot. So.
Yeah. Regardless, Diablo 4 is a big thing for Blizzard.
It's their next big deal.
It's their next big deal. And Diablo 3 has been really successful. So...
Wasn't at first,
but it has been successful since. And Diablo 4 is going to be that next step. And you kind of want Diablo 4 to, you would hope Diablo 4 reaches that same level of success. And if it is not successful, I think you can draw a line straight to people. I think this is a because usually, I don't know, why does Ghost Recon suck? Is it Yves Guillemot's fault? I don't know. I mean, probably not.
Some new writers.
But drawing a line from Yves Guillemot to why Ghost Recon sucks is difficult because you never know the effects of people. However, I think with everything we know that went down on Activision Blizzard, screw it. I think it's kind of easy to draw a line from literally Bobby Kotick to here's a bad game and why it happened. And it starts with a CEO that was okay with and complicit and even participatory in a toxic workplace. And you can see the effects of that. And that sucks. And that's too bad. And so, I don't know. I guess I don't know what else to say, but just, you don't want to see that. But here it is. Here's sort of the result of all that. And if the deal doesn't go through and Microsoft... I don't know how much of a safety. I don't even want to call it a safety net because I don't know if that's necessarily true. But whatever they were planning, whatever Activision Blizzard was planning to get, whatever security, whatever from Microsoft, that is now up in the air. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you what kind of chance the FTC has at winning the case. But that's now up in the air. So if Diablo 4 comes out and it's not very good, which I hope to God is not, because I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's great. I hope it wins Game of the Year. I hope it just blows everybody's socks off. But if it comes out and it's not great, then the effect of that, I think, is greater than other game releases that aren't that great, because you have a company that's fledgling, that's struggled to have a hit since Overwatch, I guess, and their CEO stepping down because of the toxic workplace, and then the deal fell through. So it sucks to see a company with the stature like Blizzard and the legacy of Blizzard go through all that, because that shouldn't happen, especially to a company that has the kind of IPs that Blizzard has.
Yes.
So I don't know. All of that just wrapped up is like a really depressing ESPN 30 for 30. And I say that I say that partially joking, but at the same time, you can make a documentary, a huge Ken Burns 10-hour documentary series about this shit, because it's just too bad. Reading of the story is deflating. It was just
always is. Yeah,
it is just deflating
because every story that comes out, it really, you ask yourself, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Regarding this not only situation but plague that envelops the game development community.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing, with the whole stock thing, I don't know how common that is. I know it happens in companies. I've never worked anywhere where you were offered stock or whatever. Obviously, there's different levels of that. If you work at a smaller company, that may be worthwhile. That may be different. So I'm not going to put up a giant blanket statement. But at Activision Blizzard, can we not just pay people bonuses?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody there is like, no, I'd rather have the stock. So it's like, okay, whatever. I guess I'm not in a position. But it just seems like, can you just... stocks can't buy groceries,
Almost 100% of people don't know what to do with stocks.
So it's like, just, can you just pay people bonuses You just let people buy eggs and sign their kids up for soccer and have the money to pay for cleats and stuff. Do you really have to give them? That's such a Wall Street bro type thing. But again, I know it's common, and I don't want to put a blanket all over it. But maybe it's just because I'm so fed up with seeing Bobby Kotick that as soon as I read stock and then, it's something Bobby Kotick likes, it's like, oh yeah, that's only a red flag. It's like the red flag the size of Canada. Like, okay, if Kotick likes it, but anyway.
Red is in their flag.
Anyone else want to throw Kotick in the...
I don't. Well, I mean...
Dunk on Kotick, just say,
I'd like to kick him off a bridge.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, he'd hit the river. It's fine. It's not that far down.
Yeah, sure.
It is a which bridge.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Are we ready to... Oh, this next one. I'm in a bad mood because Bobby Kotick in this next
All right.
story.
Hey, Nintendo sucks. Nintendo censors DidYouKnowGaming's video about Zelda Tactics, a video which I saw before it got.
Oh, okay.
In October, DidYouKnowGaming published a video about Heroes of Hyrule, which was a failed 2004 pitch for a Zelda Tactics game on the DS. The idea came from Retro Studios, who's worked with Nintendo for a very long time, almost 20 years now, Metroid Prime devs and Donkey Kong Country Returns. The video was taken down by Nintendo with a copyright strike. DidYouKnowGaming tweeted out a statement saying, quote, Nintendo has removed our Heroes of Hyrule video from YouTube. This was a journalistic video documenting a game that Retro Studios pitched to Nintendo nearly 20 years ago. This is an attempt by a large corporation to silence whatever journalism they don't like and a slap in the face for video game history preservation. We are exploring all available options to restore the video. End quote.
Yeah. So all of us together, it's morally correct to pirate Nintendo games. Okay, cool. Connor, you didn't say. Are you Nintendo shill?
No.
Okay, fine.
I just didn't know where you were going with that. You guys already started. I'm like, hold on, join in now.
This makes me so mad because it's impotence and apathy on part of YouTube. Because if you're not what's up, guys? Ho, hey, whoa, wacky. If that's not you, and you're not, convincing 12-year-olds to buy fucking duck suits in Fortnite, you're like, Nintendo's not going to care or protect you.
YouTube. You said Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, maybe both. But YouTube's not going to step in and protect you. And all this is just censorship. This has nothing to do with copyright. This is why, and Connor, you and I, we go rounds about copyright. We have fought on this table about copyright.
And it's in the notes, and this gets brought up every time we talk about anything with copyright, is that copyright is a lot more complicated than people think. It's not just fair use is a blanket statement. And this is happening because different countries have different copyright laws. People are trying to apply American copyright law to Japanese copyrights, and that's not how that works.
Okay, but what I would argue,
and what YouTube needs to do is do what they did when Toei Animation started censoring or putting copyright strikes on videos, is just region block the video in Japan so that it doesn't show there.
And there's got to be a reason why that hasn't happened. But of course, YouTube doesn't say anything.
Well, it probably hasn't happened because it just hasn't picked up enough traction yet, so there wasn't a need for it. Now that it's starting to pick up traction, it may come back online and it may just get region blocked in Japan.
Maybe.
Because, and this is the fine point that people need to understand about when Japanese companies do this, is because the fair use laws in Japan are virtually non-existent. It's more heavily restricted than it is in the United States for fair use. And sure, because of legalities in Japanese law, when they make these copyright claims, the case has to be held in Japan. So it's kind of it's a get out jail free card for the copyright holders to kind of bully other people into submission, because people can't necessarily afford to fly out to Japan at any given notice for a legal issue.
Sure.
And so it is beholden on YouTube at this point to circumvent these aggressive bullying copyright laws by just region blocking in Japan.
Am I crazy to say that even if you live in Japan, Japanese lawyers are probably just as smart and well-read to see, because whatever Japanese copyright laws are like, they're draconian if this is the result of them. They're straight up old. They're like 1850s. It's ridiculous. Because this, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and try to because I don't know the finer points of comparing and contrasting American copyright law and American fair use doctrine and blah 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 blah. And fair use doctrine in the United States isn't necessarily protected all the time either. But I think we can just break it down to like the spirit and the rule of the law. And this was nowhere near breaking the spirit of the law, right? If this were the New York Times that reported this, and they had video clips and they had pictures and stuff like that, Nintendo couldn't do shit. But it's YouTube, and Nintendo punches down and bullies smaller outlets, smaller media channels in ways that they couldn't do it if it were larger institutions that have more sway, more political power, and more capital to defend themselves legally. So that's something that really bothers me, because it feels like I understand that legally in Japan this may be by the letter of the book, but I think lawyers there probably understand that their laws may be more severe than American laws, and I assume that they can understand fair use just as well as anybody else. And they can apply it to this video and say, this video is not hurting Nintendo. Why should we strike it down?
I think you're doing a lot of assumptions based off, and this is fine. You're doing a lot of assumptions based off of your perspective, because you grew up in a culture where it was different. Japanese culture is very different from American culture.
Not completely out of my depth there.
And you saying you would think Japanese lawyers would think this way, that could be 100% or not think this way, but be able to understand that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, they might be able to.
It's just they're intelligent people. They should be able to see the spirit of the law.
But at the end of the day, they're beholden to Japanese law, not American law.
But I don't know. It feels like somebody has to press the button here to make this happen.
And I wanted to point out that you mentioned them going after smaller publications. It's not that they went after YouTube. They went specifically after DidYouKnowGaming.
Yeah. Just like with Toei Animation going after I forget
everyone under the sun that did anything with anime.
Yeah, but I forget the guy that specifically we talked about a few months ago, because he actually commented on my YouTube video, which was very cool. On my one YouTube video, he commented on my Halo review. He called it excellent or something. But anyway, which was really random, because I posted that Halo review, and then that week we were talking about him, and then he posted it, and I was like, did somebody make this account as a prank? And it was really that guy. So I was like, oh, hey, thanks. See you later. Anyway, sorry, not to. Okay, again, I don't want to get.
See you later.
Big gulps. Huh? All right. Well, see you later. I don't want to get out of my depth here. It just bothers me, because I don't want to say like countries. There's not like walls around where we lob cease and desists over because we can't see. You know, it's like we should. I don't know. I feel like people are.
And you also have to remember, at the end of the day, the lawyers that file these lawsuits, they're being employed by companies, and the companies are making these decisions, and the lawyers are just earning a paycheck.
Sure. Well, okay, yeah, but but this is a colloquialism. Obviously, a lawyer wasn't hunting around YouTube. I'm saying somebody had to press the button for this, and that somebody is probably versed enough to understand, well-reasoned enough to understand that this video is not going to hurt Nintendo.
And that person also, at the end of the day, has to feed their family or themselves.
But is this really going to threaten that?
It very well could.
Because there are other things around. There are Kotaku stories with all the stuff, with a lot of the images that was in this video that are up right now. And I don't know, if you were so desperate to take this down because you thought it was going to hurt your job, wouldn't you want to take down the Kotaku stories?
And they very well may be trying to.
See, that just bothers me, because I find that incredibly hard to believe. But this is why we argue all the time, because you're a corporate shill, and I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding. Okay.
Damn, I can't believe I lost a brother today.
I'm kidding. No, they need to get their video, and you know what? I don't know. YouTube just needs to figure it out. I'm so tired of YouTube.
I told you what YouTube just needs. If any copyright strike comes from Japan, because it is bullying. It is bullying and censorship.
I know. And that's what you said earlier.
YouTube just needs to region block it. And that satisfies both. Well, it doesn't satisfy the Japanese company, but
there's nothing they can do about a region blocked video in the United States.
Because when it comes to court, YouTube can say, the video is no longer available in Japan, so it doesn't affect Japanese markets.
Sure. Yeah. And maybe they're working on it. But that's just too bad. And I wish YouTube were a little more transparent about that stuff. Because I don't know. Because DidYouKnowGaming is a really good channel. They do quality work. They do quality journalism. So it's just like, yeah, I don't. It bothers me that this kind of stuff happens to people that it shouldn't happen to. Anyway.
I'd like to talk now.
I'm sorry, Richard. I'm sorry.
Do you have anything to say, Richard?
We just fought. You were like the little kid watching mom and dad fight, and now you're just sneaking downstairs for a cookie or something.
You guys can leave. I'll continue the podcast.
I'm sorry,
no,
Richard.
No, it's fine. Did You Know Gaming is something I've been following since my college days, when they were just a website. They're just a simple website, and every day they'd post something or however long. But anyways, for the last month and a half, they've been doing a huge blowout expose on tons of Nintendo stuff that has been canceled. Not only did they have this Zelda Tactics game, they had a Metroid Tactics game that was canceled. And they also had another Zelda game that was canceled that was in development as well. None of those videos have been taken down.
Yeah.
And it leads me to believe that either Nintendo has some sort of idea about the Zelda Tactics game that they either want to continue or use. And that's probably why they took it down. Also, Retro is an American company, so I don't know. I mean, I know we're bringing Japan into this because it's Nintendo.
Wait, are they?
Yes, Retro Studios is.
I completely.
Yeah, they're based in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So we're talking about Japanese lawyers, but it's like, I think they're a subsidiary of Nintendo of America. Well, Nintendo in general, which is the same thing. Whatever.
Well, yeah, because I don't know who would. Because maybe we should have looked this up. Because I don't know who would own. Because Nintendo would own the copyright, right? So,
yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, sorry, continue with your...
Nintendo is terrible. They've always been terrible when it comes to letting their so-called secrets out, letting the stuff that they've never completed out. They don't want anyone to see it. I don't know why, but this was very apparent when they had the Giga leak a couple years ago, and all this information about all their games came out. There's even in books and in Console Wars, there's a chapter about them trying to figure out how to take market share away from Sega that was quickly gaining, and someone brought the idea up of sharing information about Nintendo games with other publications instead of Nintendo Power, and Arakawa at the time, the president of Nintendo, was like, no, we're not doing that. And it's just, they've always been very, very we're not going to do this. It is probably one of the worst aspects about Nintendo, because there's so much that we don't know that's very cool to see. Like the Metroid Tactics game was supposed to be XCOM, but with Metroid, like Samus and like a bunch of other mercenaries, like in their first mission together. And it sounds awesome. All this stuff sounds awesome, but Nintendo just has this thing about them, this protectiveness of their IPs, because they think it's going to ruin it somehow. But it's not, honestly, and it never has. Fan artwork, fan games, none of this stuff has ever hurt Nintendo. People do this stuff out of love for Nintendo, and Nintendo continuously squashes it. So it's very disheartening to see stuff like this. But if you want to kill two birds with one stone, I don't want to say kill two birds with one stone. How about this? AI art sucks, so let's start feeding Nintendo shit to AI art. So Nintendo shuts down AI art. Same with Disney.
Playing 4D chess.
Yeah.
That's really dangerous move, but I like it.
Yeah. The only winning move is not to play.
Oh, look at this Mario NFT. Hope nobody comes after me with all the lawyers in America.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah, it couldn't have happened to a better channel. Did You Know Gaming does have some really cool stuff. They're very big on preservation and have revealed some very, very cool things that never would have seen the light. And, I believe the person who shared this from Retro Game Studios, he no longer works there. I think he even had something to say about it and was just like,
yeah,
why? Like, why'd you guys do this? Is stupid.
To Kotaku, I think.
Yeah. But it's...
Did You Know Gaming is one of the YouTube channels that ContraPoints calls YouTubers Hoomst is good. The YouTubers Hoomst is good. Richard, where are we going next?
Days Gone director says woke reviewers hurt their game. John Garvin, responding to fans on Twitter, gave 3 reasons. 3 reasons why. It's not 13 reasons why, but why Days Gone didn't review well. Tech issues like bugs is arguably probably the biggest thing. Reviewers who couldn't be bothered to actually play the game, and woke reviewers who couldn't handle a gruff white biker looking at his date's ass. Might I remind you, Sons of Anarchy was one of the biggest shows like out there ever.
That show doesn't have gruff white bikers in it.
Yeah, I never saw any. This is a reference to a flashback scene where the main character Deacon was looking at a character's butt as she bent over to pick a flower or something, and the camera focuses, on that. Anyways, the tweet is now deleted. Ben's studio released a statement on Twitter saying, quote, "We are aware of the comments made by our previous creative director. Ben's studio does not share his sentiment, nor does it reflect the views of our team. Our studio is immensely thankful to every developer who poured their heart and soul into it. We are incredibly humbled by the support of our Days Gone community."
Okay, so first thing, I write the notes, and then Richard or Connor reads them. Sometimes I leave little mines in the notes, and Richard just skillfully hopped over it. Yeah. And I was very disappointed because I thought I was going to get you. Because I always get you with Yosuke Matsuda. Yosuke Matsuda, CEO, president, and man who thinks the ending of Game of Thrones is great. Mm-hmm. But this one, anyway, I call them Deacon Saint Dumb and Discount Elena. But in all honesty, I really think that's kind of a good summarization of their characters. I know you haven't played it, correct?
No, I haven't.
Okay, and Connor, you've played a little bit of it?
About 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes, okay.
Didn't like how the game handled it.
So I want to give John Garvin the benefit of the doubt, because people post things, they have bad days, Twitter happens quickly, you post something that you regret. Sure. Maybe it's naive of me because those are a lot of buzzwords in there.
What happened to punching walls?
I know, right? That needs to come back. Punching walls needs to come back as a way to
instead of anger tweeting.
You heard it here first.
No, anger tweets so we could find you and make sure not to interact with you.
All right, but I do know that scene, and I don't know. So they eventually they eventually get married, and you know that. Mm-hmm. So I think it was an attempt to write in like a cute, like sexually charged cutesy moment.
Sure.
Like in The Office, there's a moment where they're talking. There's a joke where like Michael and all these characters have had sex at the office, and Jim's like, "Yeah, we don't. We have a bed. We have a home and a bed." And then Jim goes, "And a shower." And it's this cute little, "Oh, they're married. They have sex. Well, how cute." Whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, mm-hmm. I think that was sort of the point of the scene.
I can understand that. Yeah.
They're on a date. It was one of their first dates, so they weren't married at the point. So I could see why some people would think it was kind of weird. I also think Deacon's just a poorly written character across the entire game.
So, I mean, his full character description was given.
What's that?
Gruff white biker.
Yeah. So much of the game comes off awkward that moments that are supposed to be funny or cute or silly are just completely flat. And that happens all over the place in the game. I told you about a moment where there's a scene where Deacon and his wife, or his soon-to-be wife, or he's like, she's on his bike, and her car ran out of gas, and so they like went to a gas station to get a tank of gas, mm-hmm. and he's like driving back to her car, and there are like hillbillies at the car trying to break in. And so his solution to the problem is he's going to get off and he's going to fight these 3 guys. And so Deacon gets his ass kicked almost instantly by these 3 guys. And I'm just going to call her Elena. Elena knows that he has a pistol in his bag. So in the background of the shot, you see Elena like just watching Deacon get his ass kicked for like a solid 5 seconds. And then she like digs in his bag, and the entire thing is just really awkward because none of these characters are acting anywhere near any human being would act. And the hillbillies are like ridiculously cliched hillbillies. It's silly. And you walk away like you're unsure what Deacon was doing. Like, was it supposed to be, oh, this guy's a badass, he's gonna beat up 3 guys? No, he just
got his ass kicked.
He just got his ass kicked. Oh, that's because Deacon goes headlong into problems. No, it's not really true. He just got his ass. Okay, what's the point of the scene? Is it funny? Is it weird? Is it characterization? Anyway, that scene really bothered me. So, is the scene tasteful? I don't know. I don't blame people for thinking it's not. It's distasteful though, because so much of the game is just. There's another point where Deacon's friend has blood poisoning and he has to save them. And Deacon is telling him a story about picking flowers with Elena because Elena's a botanist. And he's telling him this story that's really important to him because so much the game is about him in denial about his wife's death. And his wife's out there somewhere. He's going to find her. Even though all this evidence says that she's dead. He never saw her die. He's going to find her. She's out there somewhere. So it's really impactful. And it's so strange because he's telling this story about picking flowers, right? This really like impactful story. And when it cuts back to his friend calls him a pussy. It's like, what? Was that supposed to be funny?
They're gruff white bikers.
But it doesn't make any sense. It'd be like if, I don't know, it just didn't make sense. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm belaboring the point here. The game is not well written.
Listen here, John. Your game was bad.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Plain and simply. No one liked your game because it was bad. It was a 6 out of 10.
Mediocre.
6 out of 10. Sure.
And if you
it wasn't because of woke people, it's because your game was bad.
And
God damn it.
And I hate that simplification because if I say, hey, that scene where Deacon looked at Elena's butt was distasteful, it was sexist, it was whatever buzzwords, right? And Connor, you disagree with that? You think that moment was well written? You can call me woke and get lots of hand clapping on Twitter, or you can disagree with me and explain why my opinion is wrong. And then we have a critical analysis of a scene in a game
that was 2 seconds long compared to 40 hours.
Where one of our views of that scene will win because we debate the critical readings of that. And that's worthwhile to do that in anything, including video games. And it makes me so sad when it boils down to, no, it's just it made you mad, so you must be woke because you don't like humor. You don't like sexually charged moments. It's like, no, doesn't have anything to do with that. It just has to do with thinking it's a bad scene. And, and the people that didn't like it, they had reasons for not liking it. They didn't just stop at, I don't like it. So when you just call them woke and end the discussion there, it really bothers me because it's just a buzzword and there's no critical conversation there. Anyway.
I think it's funny that he pointed this part out as if this flashback scene is a pivotal moment that needs to be understood for the game to work. Because otherwise, if you don't like this scene, the game just falls apart.
Yeah.
So is it really that important of a scene to John Garvin that, it's shown that he likes Discount Elena's ass? His full character description is gruff white biker, who likes ass. There we go.
So no, it's not that pivotal in the game.
No, it's not. But
I couldn't even finish Days Gone. Because Days Gone got to a point where finally the big crescendo of the story happened. This huge crescendo happened. And it's just like, you go in one door, crescendo, you walk right back out, and it's like, hey, Deacon, I need you to go over here and clear these nests. It's like, but I want to, this just happened. Yeah. I don't want to do that bullshit that I've done 20 previous times.
I've seen that scene because I couldn't care less about the game. I've seen that scene, and yeah, but I do know it was just like, why couldn't you talk to me? Why couldn't we?
Thank you. What? I think we can spoil it.
She's alive. She's working for the military.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you end up on her and you meet her, and instead of her going, oh my God, you know what? She like tests you on how to say a scientific word.
and they act like they don't know each other.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then there's this, now the leader of the camp she's in is like weird. He's like conservative military, like protect the Constitution. I don't know why I'm doing this
because he's an animatronic.
Yeah, because he's like a soldier, Anyway, so maybe it's like she doesn't want to make him mad, but it's not like a dystopian camp. It's just sort of a militaristic camp. But anyway, after that scene, I just lost all interest because so much led up to that. And then you get so much more of the same gameplay. I just didn't care. I was like, no, it's character time. I've already had enough killing zombie time. It's character time. And I don't want to kill. I'm done. I want more character time. And at that point, I was like, I want to play Deathloop or whatever I was playing at the time.
The game is great.
Deathloop's amazing. Yeah. So I was like, so screw this. Same thing happened with the latest shoot. What's it called? BJ Blazkowicz.
Oh, Wolfenstein.
Okay. Where Wolfenstein was just like really bad halfway through the last one. And I was just like, I'm done. I just stopped playing. Usually I try and, I couldn't even finish Days Gone. So it's because Days Gone was bad.
Couldn't get past the first half hour of it.
Yeah,
I think it was literally 30 minutes. It's after the first cutscene, then you chase down some guy, kill him or leave him for the zombies to kill. I forget exactly what. But after that, I'm like, yeah, this game sucks.
A lot of people liked it, and I don't blame them. There is a lot of interesting stuff in the game. Crater Lake, we lived near Crater Lake when we were kids because we're from Oregon, so that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Wizard Island is where that military base is on.
Weird.
And I've always wanted to go to Wizard Island when I was a kid. I don't know why. I just did.
It's one of those things that when you're,
when you're a kid.
Because there's a lake on Wizard Island that's an island in a lake crater. It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's rad. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's like a target.
Yeah.
Target on Earth.
But there's a lot of stuff that's really cool about it, and it's neat that a game takes place in Oregon. Not a lot of movies and stuff take place in like Oregon because there's not a lot, unless it's Portland. But this was like rural Oregon with the beautiful trees and the mountains and stuff. So there are a lot of things that I understood that people liked. The zombies were cool, but it really did feel like remember Batman Arkham Origins?
Yeah,
and how it was kind of. Well, it was worse than like than Rocksteady's Arkham's.
It's still good, but we're
yeah. That was Days Gone, but it was like in relation to Last of Us.
Yeah.
like you could see
it was the I forgot the name. The ones who makes the B movies.
Oh, DreamWorks.
No, not them.
You're thinking of Asylum.
Is it them?
Like that makes like the Transmorphers.
Transmorphers instead of like
B movie, not the B movie.
Sorry.
Jerry Seinfeld. Wow. What's the deal? Sorry. Not the B movie. You knew who made the B movie off the top of your head.
Well, yeah, he does the DreamWorks face.
Ready for tidbits.
A man discusses the news. But not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the tidbits.
It's one of the most memed movies.
it's pretty memed.
Who makes the B movie? DreamWorks. I don't know why. That was funny. Then the more I thought about it, the funnier it got.
There was some like hyper right wing like reporting site you could use, and they had like a text box to where you could like write out stuff that was happening, There's no limit. So people just kept posting the entire script of the B movie.
This is how we win.
Jerry Seinfeld's masterpiece, the B movie.
Like I said at the start of the podcast, it's all Game Awards all the time. So I'm going to go through all the winners, and you guys can comment on it as I go through the winners. I know I will on a couple probably.
Okay.
And then we're going to go through the announcements. The games that had trailers I thought were interesting. It's a good amount of them, but
let's do it.
But let's go through them. Highlights for the winners include Best Performance, Christopher Judge for God of War. Very deserved.
Yep, very good.
Best Debut Indie for Stray. Sure.
Wow.
I like Stray.
I liked it a lot, yeah.
I just didn't get into it as much as I did like Vampire Survivors or like other. You know.
Okay, sure.
Best Adaptation, Arcane, League of Legends, which I still have to yet to see. Best Narrative, I hear it's great. Best Narrative, God of War, of course. Best Sim Strategy, Mario Rabbids. You know who else was nominated for Best Sim Strategy? Dune, Spice Wars, Total War, Warhammer 3, 2 Point Campus, and Victoria 3.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Mario Rabbids is made for children.
Damn.
It is. No, it's a kid's version of XCOM. It is.
Does that mean it can't win Best Strategy?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's no strategy involved.
Oh, God.
Because it's for kids.
Okay.
It's like giving Candyland a Best Strategy game, you know. There's no strategy in Candyland. You draw a card, you move to the color.
It's like Splatoon 3 winning Best Shooter.
Okay.
Like you just have to point in a general area. It's like, did it.
It is funny to think of Mario Rabbids, them constructing the gameplay, and then you go over to Paradox and they're like, how do we balance communism?
Yeah. And that's not to say that Mario Rabbids isn't a great game, because it is a good game. It's a very good game. Yeah. But anyways, best multiplayer, Splatoon 3.
Sorry. I think it's funny that, you know, a company from a country that's heavily socialized made socialism really unbalanced and really popular.
What did I say? Best multiplayer, Splatoon 3. Mm-hmm. Modern Warfare 2 was also nominated. So was Overwatch 2, Shredder's Revenge, Multiverses. Whatever. I get it. Best audio design, God of War. Best action game, Bayonetta 3. Best music, God of War. Best VR AR game, Moss Book 2, which I still have yet to play as well.
Yep.
Best accessibility, which is God of War. Although honestly, I think it would have been a coin flip between that and The Last of Us Part 1. Which was also nominated. Because they pretty much have the same accessibility options for the most part. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't played the remake of The Last of Us, but God of War has crazy accessibility.
Yeah. You played Last of Us Part 2. The accessibility is just the same. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's insane, but it's very good. Best role playing game went to Elden Ring. Best indie game also went to Stray. Best action adventure went to God of War. Best direction went to Elden Ring, and game of the year went to Elden Ring, which I thought was a no-brainer. Well, not necessarily a no-brainer, but I can understand the arguments.
Sure. Yeah. I really think
no other game this year was talked about more than Elden Ring.
But does that? It
does, unfortunately, when the votes are partially counted by user votes as well.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's fine.
Also, Elden Ring broke through. Like, as a Souls game, standard fan, like, it went to normal people.
Sure, yeah. I won't accept the argument that it's objectively better than God of War, because I just think that's false.
Yes.
But if you want to talk about, like, impact, like when Fortnite came out, mm-hmm. Fortnite got the... Mm-hmm. Or no, I'm thinking PUBG. Like, PUBG came out the same year that Breath of the Wild came out, and they were both up, and I was like... I could see the argument for PUBG because it took the world by storm.
Yeah, impact. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted PUBG to win just because I wanted to see the world break in half from angry Nintendo fans.
There's the argument which is going on right now that I really hate. I hate. I understand it for Elden Ring, because Elden Ring took the formula that they originally had and made it work in an open world setting quite seamlessly, in my opinion. I think it was very good. I think it is a gorgeous game. I think there's a lot to love about that game. But the other argument I hear from people who are arguing against God of War, that God of War is the same as 2018 and didn't do anything differently. It's the same game, which I can agree with to an extent, because it is. It is like Control, like the same.
How is that not the same argument for Okay, like I know you don't agree with necessarily that. Let's set a ground rule here.
Okay.
Because I know in Richard's mind, even if that's true, that doesn't mean God of War is worse than.
Right.
Okay. Right. So we're there.
Right.
But like at the same time, if we were to argue on that,
Yeah.
all Elden Ring is open world Dark Souls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just if you want to see if your argument for why Elden Ring is better than God of War because God of War hasn't changed, it's like, well, fuck, Elden Ring is just Dark Souls,
you get a horse
which
now.
is fine.
Right. But unfortunately, to average people's mindset, it's like a different. It's like a different beast. Like
Sure.
they were able to put it in an open world setting and make it work, but really, it's just you just put it in an open world setting.
Yeah,
But,
and
like-
it does work
Right.
seamlessly.
The thing about God of War is I'm not playing it to experience something different the next time. I'm experiencing it to finish the story.
And I would say
Which
it is pretty different in some aspects because I think
Sure.
the combat has a completely different angle with how you learn. Because like how you're supposed to, you build up the elemental stuff on your weapons, and then you get new attacks with the elements, or how once you do a certain move so many times, you add attributes to that movement, right? So if you use a move a bunch, that move not only becomes your go-to move, but then that move becomes more powerful because you get another ability on there. I was gonna mention something else.
So
I think it's
once again,
I think it's Halo 2 and Halo 3. Like it's still God of War, but I think there's enough differences there that you just can't say copy and paste. And you're not saying that.
Right. I'm not saying that either, but I also am saying 25 hours in, I'm not really doing anything different than I have the first couple hours as well. That doesn't. Once again, I'm not playing it for that.
Sure.
Because it plays. Like, don't change it.
Yeah.
It works wonderfully.
Sure.
Anyways, what's up?
So I have just a quick counterpoint to they made Dark Souls work in open world. How wouldn't it have worked in open world?
I don't know.
People
I think it.
Well, people are saying like, oh, they made Dark Souls work in an open world. They just widened the map.
Right, widen the map. Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so if you take the mechanics from Dark Souls 2, okay, just mechanics, enemies, weapon type, all that stuff, and posit it, just copy paste directly into Elden Ring, still works.
But here,
There is nothing that they've really had. Okay, let me
Oh my
flipping
God.
the table. Oh my
please don't
God.
do that. There's hard drives that are spinning, and
Oh man.
Don't lecture me. All right,
Well-
we'll flip the table. I'll cancel this. But keep going on your point.
them saying it's this big innovative thing that Elden Ring was able to make the Dark Souls combat work in, or the Dark Souls formula work in open world. Like, well, yeah, it's just a hardcore RPG.
Yeah.
So
There's really nothing they had to do to make it work except put it in an open world.
But they did it. Okay. See, I disagree because of how they did it, of how the open world is structured, of how you will look at a forest and you have no idea what to expect, and you go in and you're surprised. Or
How is that different from Fallout 4, where you look at this city over here and you don't know what's in there?
That's not the argument, though. The argument is they could have done it poorly, and they did it extremely well. They did it where you are constantly surprised by new enemies somehow, even though you're looking at a thing from 50 miles away, and they find clever ways to surprise you with enemies. They find clever ways to have a dragon spawn and fly into the map and have that work with the rest of the combat around there, when usually I think Dark Souls combat is really constrained because you're not supposed to run. And you're doing it on like you're fighting a dragon on horseback that's brand new. Horseback combat is brand new to Dark Souls, right? And now you have bosses where you're on a horse and the boss is on a horse. So now you've got two horses. So there's combat like that. And
See,
you have
that's
to,
the only point that stands out is horse combat.
and you have to make all that interesting. So you've got castles. You've got these hand painted like sceneries where you're fighting this giant tree boss next to a giant tree, and out in the distance you just see a floating castle that's just beckoning to you, right? And that they designed it that way. So I think I give them way more credit than just it's easy for them to
I don't
go
I really don't buy
100
that.
plot.
So I don't really
Throw in
buy the
enemies.
argument of they made it interesting because you don't know what's in that forest. It's like that's any RPG.
I don't think that's true though.
That's just one of the basic, like, okay, your first time in Fallout. Okay, your first time in Fallout 4. All right,
sure.
When you were approaching Boston, you didn't know what to expect going in there. It could have been anything. You go in one direction, it's super mutants. You go in another direction, it's ghouls. You go in one direction, it's gunners. And then around the back, there's, you have
death claws are in there. Yeah.
Death claws and the mire lurks, and then you have raiders sprinkled out throughout there, and you don't know who you're going to run into. You just described that in Elden Ring.
Yes, and they did it extremely well, and I think they should get credit for that.
And
I'm not going to say anything about game design is easy.
Well, I'm not saying game design is easy, but they're getting high praise for doing something other people have done. Just they did it from a closed environment to an open environment.
And again, I don't think other people have necessarily done it, because the kinds of monsters, the kinds of mysteries that you encounter in Elden Ring are really creative. You got the giant walking bosses with bells on them, and you have to figure out, whoa, how the hell do I interact with this thing? You go next to a cliff and you hear opera, and you're like, what is this? And you follow around the opera for a while, and you discover something. You hear a bush talking to you. They did it extremely well. I don't know. I understand. Listen, I understand. Like, it's open world Dark Souls. That's an oversimplification. I think it's partially true. But at the same time, you have to give them credit for doing it extremely well, because they could have done it extremely poorly. Do you remember when it first came out, how much we were talking about, hey, did you find this? Did you go this way? Go this way. So much word of mouth. And not only with the open world, but how the game is structured. Because how you find things is, you meet an NPC that's like, hey, go past the statue and 3 paces to the left. And you're like, what the fuck? And so you're following like these weird directions and stuff like that. And anyway, well,
Okay, but your example that you just said about, hey, did you find this? I've had that conversation with every Bethesda game.
Okay, but Bethesda games give you clear instructions. There's explicit writing. There's quest
Not for
markers.
everything.
Sorry.
Well,
the end of the day, Elden Ring 1 gave it
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Let's move on. We're going to go to announcements now for trailers and stuff. We got a lot, so I'm going to go through them as quick as I can. Dead Cells has a new expansion called Return to Castlevania. So they're going to include the Castlevania characters. You go through Dracula's castle. Can't wait.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Vampire Survivors is now free to play on your phone. So if you got a phone, you can play Vampire Survivors for free.
Hey.
Returnal is coming to PC with some very beefy, settings. Hellboy Web of Weird, which is a new Hellboy game made in the same style as, I forgot the artist's name. The comic book artist for Hellboy. Horizon Call of the Wild. Of course, they showed a new VR trailer for that. A horror game called Post Trauma. Had a very rough looking trailer, but could be interesting. Lots of gross plant life and tentacles and stuff. Yeah. A new trailer for the Cyberpunk, I don't know what to call it, side scroller called Replaced. That game looked very, very cool the first time it was shown off. It still looks cool after a hiatus because of that word. Oh my God. Trouble in the studios.
Oh, okay.
A new trailer for Street Fighter 6 looked very cool. Probably after that, the announcement of the night for me, Hades 2.
Yes.
With a very beautiful trailer. Judas, a new game from, why did I forget his name?
Ken Levine.
Ken Levine.
Of
yes.
Ghost
Stories Studios. Yes. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, a new Bayonetta prequel, which changes through its action-based to like storybook platformer. Looks neat. Destiny 2 Lightfall does no longer look like Destiny to me. I have no idea what this game is. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, which introduced Batman, I think a little too soon because of Kevin Conroy's unfortunate passing.
Oh, yeah.
So I think they fully meant that to be a surprise, but they kind of had to pull the trigger and show us. Last of Us Part 1 will be on PC in March of next year. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is looking pretty cool. I might go back to play Jedi Fallen Order again and see how that works out. Earthblade, a new game by the creators of Celeste, looks to have very, very, very good music like Celeste did, but also some very cool gameplay, platforming, and action. A new trailer for Forspoken, and then Death Stranding 2. We got a the reveal for that game, or DS2 as they're calling the sequel to the Nintendo DS. It's going to have 3 screens.
So I really like that joke.
Baldur's Gate 3, which looks rad, man. Baldur's Gate 3 looks awesome. A new action RPG called Wayfinders, kind of Diablo-esque, free to play. Fire Emblem Engage showed off their expansion pass, which I'm very pissed about because that expansion pass, it looked like they had a lot of it done already. Could have been in the game. I don't usually complain about something like that, but this is Nintendo. Diablo IV had a pretty rad trailer. I don't know if you saw that trailer.
The cinematic one?
Yeah. Their trailers are always bangers, but, they're games. Forbidden West Burning Shores is probably a DLC that will answer none of the questions of the ending for the game.
I already forgot the ending of...
don't remind me.
Oh, wait. I do remember. Yeah. Man, I didn't like that ending.
It was terrible. Blue Protocol is a game that's apparently been in development for a while, but is a new MMO from Bandai Namco, and is going to be co-published by Amazon Games. It'll be a free-to-play MMO. Remnant 2, we got the announcement of the sequel for that game.
First one was really good.
Looks cool. Yes, the first one was really good. This trailer surprised the hell out of me, but Transformers Reactivate. It's a new Transformers game, and the trailer was set to a extremely slow rendition of Dead or Alive from Bon Jovi. It was awful, but the trailer surprised me because the world is literally like ended.
Okay.
And like humans are like, oh, we got to survive, and then they find Bumblebee at the end, and it's like, whoa. Anyways, Behemoth, it's a new VR game where it looks like you climb big monsters and try to kill them.
Colossus.
Yeah, VR Colossus. Yeah. Probably my second favorite trailer of the night, called Banishers from Don't Nod Studios, the guys who did Life is Strange. Yep. So it looks like another action RPG, but it was a very, very good trailer, very intriguing. I can't wait for that. Warhammer 40K Space Marine Part 2, sequel to Warhammer 40K Space Marine, which was all right. I never
played the first one. Action
hack and slash game, which is very rad because, of course, you're a Space Marine, but it's the same thing over and over.
Sure.
So. Meet Your Maker. That game looked pretty cool. It was one player creates the map that another player has to go through, and that person is constantly trying to set traps to kill that player.
Oh, okay.
So, you can since people can make their own maps, it's probably a game I'll buy a couple months after the fact to see like what people have created because it seems very cool. Crash Team Rumble is a Crash game that nobody wants. Instead of a new Crash game like everybody was excited for, they make this like team-based Rumble game. Terrible. Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC featuring Idris Elba, and Keanu Reeves is back to voice some of that stuff. So see what happens in that. The probably biggest announcement of the night for a lot of people, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon from Software.
Yep.
It's weird saying that.
It is.
Be advised, Armored Core is not Dark Souls. It's not Souls. Do not go in thinking it's a Souls game, because it's not. You're going to spend a lot of time customizing your mech, making sure it works on the battlefield. If it doesn't, you got to go back to the drawing board and do it again.
Is that how because I never played any of the Armored Core
they're
games.
very like, it's like, oh shit, I'm going to put this gun on my shoulder. That looks rad. Oh no, I'm too heavy. Well, I got to throw away some other, again, do I want a tank tread on my bottom, or do I want like legs, or do I want,
It sounds like a good time.
It is. Yeah. Very, very much so. It's a very good game, very good series. Final Fantasy 16 continues to look very good. And that is all for the announcements.
Very excited for Death Stranding 2. I hope for a sequel because the first game was really fun, but I thought the gameplay needed some changes.
I think we're going to see some very different gameplay this time around.
You think so?
Yep.
I hope they don't streamline it. I hope they keep. I don't know.
Let me ask you this question: when has gameplay ever been bad in a Kojima game?
Never. That's a good question. Never. I want Death Stranding where it's like more difficult, and I have to find more creative ways to do things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, because I remember a big disappointment.
Much like Metal Gear Solid.
I remember. I thought Metal Gear Solid 5 was really great,
yeah, but particularly.
But I remember like coming across a big ravine, and I was like, I'm gonna have to build a bridge across this. Oh, cool! And then I like slowly pan the camera, and like 100 feet away, the ravine ends. I'm like, oh, I just walk around the ravine. There's a bunch of moments like that.
Yeah, but you could build that bridge anyway, and someone will finish it.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to be able to, I want to have to do these things, and anyway, so yeah, I don't have to talk about it too much. But I'm really excited. And Hades 2, yeah, Hades 2 looks awesome.
Goddamn Hades 2.
I cannot wait for Hades 2. And that's Supergiant's first sequel ever, right?
Ever, yes, that's a big thing for sure. Yep. So. And it looks like it probably could be done fairly quickly compared to Hades 1.
I have not watched anything on Judas. What does Judas look like?
It was all cinematic. It had very BioShock vibes. The style for a lot of the characters was really cool, but it was an all cinematic trailer, so it kind of told you nothing.
And it could be a year away, could be 10 years away.
Could be, yeah.
Could never come out.
Could be.
Okay, interesting. All right, is there anything else?
So, I mean, I'll cover this more next week, but they found in Europe at a garage, at a car like swap meet or whatever. Someone found the lost footage videotapes of a Michael Jackson game that was at a theme park in Europe. Yeah, like he recorded live action footage for and everything. It was like I don't know if you know Captain EO. Do you know Captain EO?
Sounds familiar.
In Disneyland, Michael Jackson had like a short 15-minute film called Captain EO, where there's like music and like he was in it, and it was very cool, very cool. Jim Henson helped with it, if I remember correctly. It was very awesome, but it was something similar to that, but it was a game that you played there. So the footage is live action, Michael talking to you and everything, but it's like has Japanese subtitles in it, like he's speaking English, but it's Japanese subtitles. But yeah, it was labeled like Sega S something. And then it was like Michael Jackson demo, and it just found it at this like, and the person who had it, their loved one passed away, and they happened to work for Sega, so they just happened to
just how these things get passed down.
Yep,
for just sure. Found just in boxes.
Yeah.
Follow us on Twitter.
Real quick. Captain EO.
Yeah.
Written by George Lucas.
Yes.
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yep. And starring what's her? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. Morticia Adams in the original. Angelica Houston. Yes.
Okay.
Houston. Yeah.
Wow. Star-studded.
Yeah. Some banging songs too. There's like
George
2 or 3
Lucas
songs
ever worked on. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. Patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. Elden Ring's greatest game ever made. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.